Hello YouTube, this is Mahadeva, the Thunder Wizard. I hope you're all doing well. I am doing well. And as you already know, I have survived, I guess, the most destructive hurricane to hit Florida in many, many years. Yeah, I'm still here. So I had to take yesterday off, just a bunch of stuff to tinker around with, get things back to normal. And I also just needed to rest and get my head together. And lucky me, I woke up this morning and wouldn't you know it, there was still some good waves to be had. So I surfed my brains out, which is always is my medicine. Helped me out a lot. So today I'm going to share with you some thoughts that I was having as a result of, taking a look at what is important in life. And so we're going to be talking about the Web of Wyrd, W-Y-R-D, which is the indigenous. Probably I would say, this is my personal experience, but I would say that the Web of Wyrd, that belief is probably the most profound spiritual teaching I've ever come across. I find it to be the most profound and the most far-reaching and the deepest. Not to mention, I would say, probably the most ancient isn't even the right word, fundamental belief. It's just an incredibly beautiful, powerful belief that, as it turns out, my ancestors believed. The Web of Wyrd. Let's see, we're going to talk about that, and I think we're going to talk about the Mandela Effect as well and how that fits in with the Web of Wyrd. So, and I want to focus on what, again, same thing, main thing I've been talking about for years, which is what is most important about this three-dimensional existence? And what is most important about being able to fully, completely live this amazing life that we have? And to connect it, once you start remembering all of the rest of you that exists in multiple dimensions. By the way, you don't just exist in the third dimension. So it is kind of silly that people talk about exiting the matrix because, your conscious experience of 3D is like an iceberg. The tip of the iceberg that's out of the ocean is your conscious experience of 3D. The vast 85 or 90% of you is actually rooted in higher dimensions. And just like Rahu, the only thing that's happened is that you've poked your head into the third dimension. But the rest of you is in multiple dimensions, and you are much more powerful. So saying that you want to exit the matrix is, it starts from an incorrect assumption, which is that the entire totality of your essence and power is trapped in 3D, and it's not. You're no more trapped in 3D than you are trapped in a dream when you're sleeping and you're having a dream. It would be so easy to wake you up from that dream, and it is completely possible to actually have lucid dreams and be awake within your dreams. I had some this morning as I was waking up. I had some very interesting lucid dreams. So we're going to be talking about that, and I really want to focus on giving you, and I'm all about giving you power. The power to experience your life as though it were a virtual reality video game. And if you are able to experience that, there's nothing that can stop you when you're in that phase, when you're in that state. Somebody just recently left me a comment. I'm going to go ahead and read it because, if people leave comments on the channel, you're leaving them for the entire world to see. So I'm not outing anybody. Let's see. Did I even keep it? I might have deleted it, but let's see here. If I've deleted it, I'll just go ahead and share with you what it is. But just to give you an example, somebody was very upset with me. Actually, a couple people. One I did. Somebody was just very, very destructive and cruel, and I just deleted him. But anyway, I must have deleted the comment, or he might have deleted it. But somebody got very upset with me, and it was about this idea of exiting the matrix and that you create your reality, that you have the ability. And I want to be clear about something. When I say that you create your reality, is your first thought that you feel as though I have devalued you, that I've criticized you? In other words, if you hate your life and you're miserable in your life, and I say to you, you created your reality, is your first reaction to feel as though I have said that you're a worthless loser because you've created this crappy reality for yourself? Or is your first reaction when I say to you, you've created this reality, is your first reaction to go, I did? Oh my God, that is such a relief. Because if I created this crappy one, it means I can create a new one. I have the power to create my own reality. Because me saying that you created this reality is not, I'm not praising you or minimizing you. I'm just stating a fact. Now, if you operate from the assumption that you don't have any power, and I say to you, you've created your reality, then of course you're going to feel crappy because you're going to think, how can I get out of this crappy reality? I don't have any power. He said I created it. I don't even remember doing it. How crappy is that? I don't even remember creating my reality. I don't even know how I'm doing it. And my life is horrible and I'm miserable. So the fundamental assumption for somebody who responds that way is that they don't have any power. But if you are somebody that has confidence, if you're, in psychological terms, if you're individuated, which is the goal of all spirituality and all psychology. If you are individuated and I say you created your reality, you'll go, oh my God, I can create whatever reality I want. But people get so mad at me and they'll list off everything that's wrong in the world. This gives you an idea. Of course, this is called projection. And I wanted to read the guy's comment because it was so good. But somebody went off on me and said, I created my reality, huh? Well, who created and then he goes, slavery, war, child trafficking, just all these horrible things, which of course none has happened to him. He himself was not child trafficked, probably has not lived through wars. He's perfectly capable of sitting behind a computer and getting on the internet and functioning. So he has the ability to live and survive. But obviously for him, he feels as though he's been child trafficked, he's been put into slavery, he's been killed in wars, he's starved to death. Of course, none of these things have happened to him, which, by the way, is it really cheapens the real trauma that other people have gone through. To use their trauma, which is on the surface level 100 times worse than yours, and then to use that in order to self-righteously justify your victim mentality. I mean, it's really horrible. It's just one of the cheapest, most cowardly, craven, desperate ways of justifying your pain. It's horrible. But having said that, I get it. I understand it. I've been through. I wouldn't wish my, the first 40 years of my life on anybody. It was very traumatic and painful. And if I'm being honest, I'm lucky I'm alive. Neither of my siblings survived. Neither of my parents survived. I was the only one that survived and prospered as a result. So I want you to just think about that when I say to you, you create your reality. And you don't have to tell me, you can just be honest with yourself. Is your first reaction to feel as though I've devalued you? Is your first reaction to feel angry, to feel frustrated? Because I felt that. When people have said that to me, and it's been said to me for 40 years, you create, you're responsible for your life. There are no victims. There's been times when I'm like, you tell me that I create my reality, but I'm trying and nothing's working, is what I used to say. I don't say that now. But that gets us into the topic of the Web of Wyrd. Because when you understand the Web of Wyrd, you will understand that you do, in fact, create your reality. And sometimes in the beginning, before you have a spiritual practice, and by the way, this channel is all about a spiritual practice. If you're just coming on this channel, and I can tell by the comments that you leave, either on the live comments or in the channel comments, I can tell if you're doing the work. I'm going to tell within a few words if you're doing the work. This channel is all about doing the spiritual practice. It's like complaining about, having scurvy, for example. Complaining about having scurvy and somebody hands you, a bottle of vitamin C. As I understand it, people get scurvy because they don't get enough vitamin C. So giving somebody, some vitamin C and they're just looking at the vitamin C and then complaining about their scurvy. Coming on my channel and feeling helpless and feeling miserable and feeling powerless and being angry and feeling like a victim and not doing the work, not doing the energy practices and the meditations is like somebody, dying of scurvy and not bothering to just take some vitamin C. There's no excuse. If you're on my channel and you're complaining about your life, there's no excuse. Because I am giving you on the free channel. You just go on to the free channel and look at the playlists and go to the energy practices, the Mao Shan playlist. And the practices I'm giving you are the most powerful practices you will ever find. You won't find anything more powerful. And the power that these practices give you, if you utilize them, will give you the ability to completely change your reality. Change your internal and your external reality if you're willing to do the work. And the great thing is it's fun. I'm not telling you to hit yourself in the head with a hammer. I'm telling you to do something that I teach you to do things that make your body feel better, that make your mind feel better, that make your spirit feel better. there's really just nothing to complain about unless you choose to. All right, so the Web of Wyrd. The Web of Wyrd says that our universe, according to Norse mythology, which I believe Norse mythology is probably one of the oldest indigenous representations, maybe even older than many other indigenous representations. It is clearly something that was developed in Northern Europe, probably before even the Indo-European invasions that came into Western Europe. I think it is something that's been there for tens of thousands of years. So, Wyrd means that which has been woven. It is such a powerful spiritual belief, and I've talked about this in my books, courses.thunderwizard.com. Read my books on runes and all the other stuff that I have about the Web of Wyrd. But the word Wyrd, W-Y-R-D, means that which has been woven in Proto-Germanic. And it is such a powerful concept that we still have it. I mean, I use that word, probably 10 times today. And that's hard to do because I'm by myself most of the time. And how do we spell it now? W-I-E-R-D. And now the definition of the word weird means strange, unusual. In some cases, it can mean spooky or supernatural or, but it's such a powerful concept that it's a word that is used every day by every single person who speaks English. They have to use that word at least once a day. Oh, that was weird. And that gives you an idea that it is the fundamental concept that our ancestors had. It was so fundamental that the influx of Abrahamic religions and Christianity was unable to get rid of it. And they were able to get rid of a lot of very deep concepts, like the concept of Woden, will, and way. Ve means spiritual space. Our ancestors believed in the three centers: higher center, lower center, and middle center. Odin, Vili, and Ve. Spiritual awareness, willpower. We didn't lose that. The word for willpower, will, is still in our vocabulary. But Ve, or Weoch, gone. Spirituality was taken away. The Christians were able to get rid of the concept of spirituality. But they couldn't get rid of the most fundamental concept of ancient Germanic polytheism, shamanism, which was Wyrd, that which has been woven. And so when we say now, oh my God, that's weird. Back then, if we go back 2,000 years or so, if something really powerful had happened, they would have said the same thing. They would have said, that's weird. But they wouldn't have said, that's weird, like, ooh, that's spooky. They would have said, well, that explains it. That's the Law of Wyrd. You mean that completely impossible thing that just happened? That's the Law of Wyrd right there. That's weird. Or be careful, that's weird, meaning it has spiritual power. So Wyrd is woven. The Web of Wyrd is woven by the three Norns. Norns are not goddesses. They are laws of nature. They're laws of physics. You can't pray to the Norns. You can try, but you're not going to get anywhere. Any more than you'd pray to gravity or time. These forces, and in the shamanic understanding, as it turns out, the understanding of every other being in the universe except for human beings, everything has awareness. Every single thing in the universe, including ideas, has consciousness. So the three forces of the Web of Wyrd, the past, the present, the future, these have consciousness to them. And when we get into the Mandela Effect, I'll prove it to you. So my ancestors called the past, they didn't call it the past, they called it origins. They called the present immediacy. And the future, they called it debt, D-E-B-T. And the idea is, as you know by your experience, you never get into the future. You never get there. You never get there because it's always in front of you. It's always something that in your mind is going to happen. So what the future brings you is the debt that is owed to you. Okay, let me repeat myself. The future that comes to you is the debt that is owed to you. So I want you to get rid of the whole idea of karma again. People get karma all wrong. There's such a negative connotation to karma. And as I've said many times, if you're breathing, if you're conscious, and if you're upright, you are functioning far more on positive karma than negative karma. The only reason you focus on the negative karma is because you don't like it. But if you focused on your positive karma, you would love karma. Every time you take a breath in and oxygen and energy goes into your body, that is positive karma giving you what is owed to you. When you eat food, when you sleep, anything that you do, you take one step in front of the other as you're walking and your bones keep you upright, that is positive karma. It is the debt that is owed to you by the universe. The universe owes you a debt just for being alive, just for existing. And if you can not only intellectually, but if you can internalize this concept, I myself am still learning how to do it, so I haven't mastered it yet either. But if you can internalize what I'm about to tell you, you'll never need anything ever again, which is the only thing that gives your life value, is that you exist. That's it. If you exist in this universe, there literally is nothing else you can do which will give you more value. Nothing. So if you are, and I'll give you an example for myself just today. I'm a very solitary person at this point in my life. That's by choice. I enjoy being by myself and having the life that I have, and all of the freedom that comes with just being alone and having my spiritual practice, not having to work for anybody else but for myself, being able to pick up and move and go wherever I want. But I'm not free. I haven't mastered this concept that I'm sharing with you, which is that there is nothing more that I can do that will make me more valuable, that will give me more validity in this existence than simply existing. And sometimes I become aware of how alone I am. I didn't say lonely. I become aware of how alone I am, and then I start thinking, the thought comes in, I start to devalue myself because I don't have a lot of people in my life. And then the bad feelings come. Then I get these bad feelings and I think I'm lonely. And then I stop and I go, no, I'm not, actually. The only reason I started feeling bad was because I started devaluing myself. I started saying I wasn't good enough because I'm not married or I don't have, whatever. And then I realized as I look back in my life that many of my relationships haven't been based primarily on wanting to share unconditionally my life and my existence with another person. Much of the time, in fact, the last serious relationship I was in, looking, hindsight is 20/20. Looking back on it, realized that I was with her because, being with a woman made me feel like I had validity, like I had value because I was in a relationship. And it was a very tough lesson coming out of that. She had real serious problems. And coming out of that very painful relationship, I became very aware that I wasn't with her because I actually wanted to be with her. I was with her because it pushed a bunch of buttons in my origin story where in order to have validity, in order to have value, I needed to be with somebody else. So if you are, what we call codependent, which means that you get your worth, your value, based on what you do rather than who you are, to that extent you are codependent. And to that extent, you will be miserable because it's impossible for you to find any worth outside of your own existence. It's impossible. And I've said that to people before. I've said that to people and I've said, listen, there's literally nothing you can do that will make you more valuable to me. Meaning, as a student, if I say this to a student, it means being a good student isn't going to make me care about you any more or any less. And being a bad student isn't going to make me care about you any more or any less. My only concern is, can I help you? And if I've come to the conclusion that I'm not able to help you, then I don't take you on as a client or a student. But when, like most people, students come to me, they have a lot of self-value issues. And, in the course of working with them, I may say, listen, there's literally nothing you can do which will make me care more about you or give you more value in my eyes. And for some people, that is very frightening. Because if they already feel crappy about themselves, and there isn't anything they can do, being a good student, saying the right things, kissing my rear end, which is why, people come on the channel and they kiss my rear end and I tear them a new one. And I don't do it to be mean. I do it because kissing my rear end isn't going to make me care about you any more than I already do. If you're my viewer or my student, I care about you simply because you exist. And that's because I don't have any personal agenda. If you're my friend or a dating partner, it's different. Then I have a personal agenda and then things get different. But if you're my student or my viewer, I don't have any agenda with you. And so there's literally nothing you can do that will make me care about you more or less. Nothing. It'll affect my ability to help you, and that's it. So I'm pounding away at this because even though you're listening to my words and I say to you that there is nothing you can do in this universe that will give you more worth, more validity, more value than you already have. For some of you, this is going to make you sad because you don't know how to relate to other people without getting their love or their approval. And this is true whether if you're a politician, obviously, you have to get votes, so you have to get people's approval. You can't just by, when we talk about democracy, but I mean, the way democracy is set up, it's not possible for an elected official to truly have no agenda. They're not really able to completely do what they believe to be best, because their first thought has to be about having the public's approval. If you're an actor, if you're a musician, your career is based on your fame, your popularity. If you don't have that, then as an actor or a musician, your validity, your value goes down. If you, in a relationship, want people to like you, if you want your partner to think you're a good person, and if you go out of your way to do good things for your partner because you want them to be happy because of you, then it means your value is based on what you do for other people. And I know that it's easy to confuse unconditional love with conditional need for approval and acceptance. It's very hard to figure out the two. But there's literally nothing you can do in this universe to gain any more validity. So when we talk about the Web of Wyrd, and we're living in the present, the immediacy of the present, the ideal goal is to be in the present, and the only thing that you need to be focused on is your own expression of your soul. You exist. You exude energy, the infinite energy of God, if you will. God lives here. If you want to use that word God, it lives right here in your chest. And it exudes an energy. It is an energy that feeds everything, that empowers everything. And every single conscious being has this. And the beings that are able to simply go to their core identity, which is this God within them, and to the extent that they are able to operate only from that, to that extent, they live in complete now. And when you are in complete now, there is nothing you need to do, nothing you need to accomplish, nothing you need to gain, nothing you need to defend yourself from either. Because when you are in that state of being completely, totally expressing and exuding that energy of just existing, every single, not only conscious being, but every single thing in the universe is empowered. Because in that state, you literally have created everything. You are flowing and experiencing and connected to everything. This is the goal. This is the goal of all existence. All beings seek this. But we have this thing called the past, which again, the beauty of three-dimensional existence is that it creates this thing called the past. And the beauty of three-dimensional linear, the illusion of linear time in three-dimensional reality, the beauty of it is that it creates a false identity that you believe is you. And you base all of your feelings on that origin, your origin story. I have an origin story. I was born in 1963, Southern California, grew up in the, I grew up in the 60s and 70s. I was a little hippie kid, little hippie surfer kid, blah, blah, blah. My parents this, my friends that. blah, 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 college this, college that, I was an actor this, I was an actor that. That's my origin story. And that is designed for you to literally, it pushes you into the present. It's the thing pushing you in linear time to be in the present. And you bring it with you. It doesn't exist, but you bring it with you. You bring it with you, and it determines all of your thoughts, all of your feelings, all of your actions. Not only that, but we have past lives, which have origin stories in themselves, which are on a deep unconscious level. You know, for instance, people's body types can be based on past lives. You know, for instance, if in a past life, let's say, I don't know, they were taken as a slave and they were sex trafficked. And they were very beautiful. So they had a lot of value based on their looks. Well, in this life, they might create a body that has a completely different look about it, because if you go deep enough, maybe they do some past life regressions, they'll find out, you know, that's why, I was beautiful, so I was taken as a slave. So in this life, no matter how hard they try, they can't change their body type. They can't change the way they look. They can't. I wish I was good looking, even though, everybody has different tastes on what good looking is. So we bring this past, this origin story, into our present reality, and it doesn't exist. So those of you who want to escape the matrix, here's how you do it. You escape the matrix by being able to completely, totally, I want to say this correctly. I want to say eliminate your origin story, but if I say that, I know that most of you will go into denial. You'll pretend that you don't have one. Pretend that you don't have one. And that's not what I'm talking about. You can't stuff the feelings. You can't stuff your origin story away. You must become conscious of it. Again, if you're an actor and you go on stage, you have a script and you have to follow the script. If you don't follow the script, you completely destroy the story. And the other actors will be standing up there and not know how to function, and you'll get fired, and it's a bad thing. And you'll look bad in front of the audience. Because as an actor, your value is based on the audience liking you. So you can't just simply deny your script. But what you can do that actors can't do is you can decide to change the script. You can decide to get together with the writer, which is your ninth dimensional self, and you can decide to change your origin story. But you can't change an origin story that you're not aware of. And if you are emotionally driven, if you're trying to escape your origin story out of fear or pain, it's still driving you. That is your origin story, is the need to escape the matrix. That's your origin story. I mean, I get it all the time. I'm trapped in 3D and I can't get out. How do I escape? Well, your origin story is that you're trapped in 3D and life is miserable. So you have to change that. You can't change that until you get together with somebody like me and say, tell me why. Why is 3D so horrible for you? How did you get trapped? What is it that's trapping you? And then you can explore it and find out how you created that, your origin story. So if you understand that you become conscious of your origin story, then you can change the script. And then when you change the script, you change your present. And ideally, you don't have an attachment to your script. You play it, but you're not attached to it. It doesn't drive you. If things don't, again, acting is a good metaphor. An actor has a goal. What is your goal in this scene? What is it that you want? Well, you've done your work. You know what the actor's origin story is. So well, I want her to love me because I need her approval. Oh, well then play that. So when you say the line, what time is it? Actually play it because you need her love and approval. These are the kinds of things that actors do, and it's brilliant. Because this is real life. Somebody in real life walks up to you and says, what time is it? There's a good chance that person's not interested in the time. That person wants much more. When two people in a relationship are fighting over which way the toilet paper should go off of the roll, and it makes them so furious that somebody has to storm out of the house or they end up breaking up over it. It's got nothing to do with the toilet paper. It's the excuse that they need because they're attached to something else. So screaming about, you always do this to me. You always put the toilet paper on backwards. Why do you do that to me? I've told you 1,000,000 times. And what's really going on is I want you to, whatever. I want you to love me in this particular way and you're not doing it. I want you to see me. I want you to value me. I want you to get in there and know what my pain is. Because if you did, then you would remember to put the toilet seat up or down. Sorry. You have to put the toilet seat down. Anyway. All right. So your past is your origin story. Your present is the only thing that exists. And the future is the debt that you have to pay. And what is the debt that you have to pay? You have to pay a debt. First off, the debt is what is paid to you, but only if you are connected to your soul. If you are consciously operating from your soul without an attachment to your origin story, then the debt that is paid to you is paid by the entire universe simply because you exist. But if you are driven to gain your worth and your value in this world based on your origin story, that means you are attached to, and in essence, you're using everybody else in the world because their job is to give you value, to give you validity. And so when that's going on, you are taking power away from your present. You are stealing from God, because you're God. To the amount that you're attached to needing to be this or do that or achieve that. And this goes for the majority of you, myself included, who think that you don't have enough money. Where am I going to get money? I need to make more money. I need to have a better job. I need to have a better career. Why? So I can have more money. There's a guy across the street from me who's got a Maserati SUV. And the only way I know it's a Maserati is because of the logo. Other than that, it looks exactly like any other SUV. And probably, there isn't a whole lot difference. I mean, who knows what's under the hood and who cares? But, I mean, that's just the only reason you buy a Maserati SUV is so you can show the world, look at me. Look at how much money I have. I didn't buy just a normal SUV like you idiots. I bought a Maserati SUV. Even though my Maserati has less room in it than yours. There's no way not to do that in my mind. I could be wrong. I can't judge the guy. I don't know him. Probably a nice guy. But that whole need to have this and and again, money doesn't exist. So I got lost on the money thing. So the debt that you pay if you're attached is your karma, the negative stuff. You will have to pay a price for needing to be valued for anything other than your soul. Did you know that? You want to know why your life is so miserable? To the extent, and I'm sorry, those of you that want to be a victim, I'm sorry, what I'm about to say, I'm going to destroy your victim mentality, hopefully irreparably. But to the extent that you feel victimized by the universe, to the extent that you feel that the universe is holding out on you, to the extent that you think that people are not loving you, it means that you have a selfish expectation on the universe to give you value based on something other than your soul. Homeless guy, homeless alcoholic guy on the street. Is he a victim? That is somebody whose identity is so deeply enmeshed in needing approval in so many ways that his debt, because he's borrowing against his soul. Listen to me. Every time that you need somebody to love you for something that you do, the way you look, how much money you have, what you do for a job, the dinner that you cooked, whatever. To the extent that you need somebody to love you based on that or anything else, you are borrowing against your soul, and you will have to pay a price for that. And the price for borrowing against your soul is misery, loneliness, pain, illness, poverty, mental illness. These are all karmic debts that you owe, and that is your future. So you're living, to you it's the future, you're living and experiencing the debt from past expectations on the world to give you validity. And if you can just, and it's, I say just, it's not easy, but if you can, it's simple, but it's not easy. If you can just simply get to the place where you do not need to be loved and approved of by anything outside of you, if you can get to that place, you will have everything. And I mean that. Literally everything will be at your fingertips. Health, money, opportunity, love, fulfillment. And you're human, so you have specific needs. Like I went surfing today, and I was, and I spent, whenever I get a good day surfing, the whole day, I spend the whole day in a feeling of gratitude. So it's something that I need. I briefly, I knew a guy who was a wisdom holder for, he was an indigenous guy from the Pacific Northwest. And he was a lineage wisdom holder. And he stayed with me for a few days, and he saw all my surfboards. And I said something about it being my addiction, and he said, "No, that is your medicine. You need that." He's absolutely right. That's my medicine. If I don't get it, there's really no reason for me to be here. I couldn't function in this world without it. And so, especially as I'm getting older, I appreciate every time I have a good day surfing, at least for one whole day, I walk around with such gratitude that I was able to experience the thing that gives me the greatest joy and connects me to my soul more than anything else. And I don't need anything else. When I have that, I don't need anything else. As long as I have a place to sleep and food to eat and, it's quiet, I've got everything I need. So you need to find whatever it is that your soul has come here to experience. Whatever that is. Being a mother, being an artist. I talk about being an actor and a musician. But if you do that solely to make your soul happy, it won't matter how well known you are, how famous you are. You'll be happy to just stay at home. And even if you hit the note wrong, you won't care. And I do. I mean, I love playing flutes, and I play them just to make myself feel good. I don't care about performing. Anyway, so that's the Web of Wyrd. The Web of Wyrd says that you are an infinite being beyond space and time. There is no matrix to escape other than your own self-created matrix. There is nothing to accomplish. There is nothing to achieve. There is no salvation. There is no forgiveness. There is no grace. There is no enlightenment. There is nothing except living from your soul without any expectation on anything or anybody else to give you validation. If you can do that, you will be God. Literally, you will be God. Your past, your origin story traps you in this present moment, and then you are in linear time, and then you will have to pay a price to the extent that you want to be loved and accepted for anything other than your own simple existence and awareness of your existence. If you live from your soul, the debt that is paid to you by the universe because you are existing and letting your energy shine is that you will have all the money you need, you will have all of the health you need, you will have all of the love, all of the resources. You'll have everything that you need. If you are attached to your origin story, which will tell you that your value comes from being or doing something in order to have validity, accepting Jesus as your Savior, whatever, to the extent that you have that, you will then owe. And the way you will pay that debt is in your misery. All right. So I said I was going to talk about the Mandela Effect. So, as you know, June of this year, I did something because I'm stupid this way. Whenever I see something spiritual that other people are doing that looks really fun and cool, I have to do it. I have to at least figure out if it's real or not. So I saw these people reaching out with their mind to attract and connect to extraterrestrial beings. And I found out these beings have all kinds of superpowers. And I said, I got to get my hands on that. I got to experience that. That sounds like a lot of fun. So I did that. I learned how to do CE5 protocol, CE5 protocol. Go Google it. And after a couple of attempts, I made some real serious contact with a very powerful extraterrestrial being. And it destroyed my reality. It absolutely, completely, totally crushed it. And then, after my reality was crushed and I was really flipping out, then all of these other things that you people already knew about came to my attention, like the Mandela Effect. The Mandela Effect that says that our history is literally changing. Not that people are rewriting it, but that history itself is rewriting itself, which is impossible, according to our linear understanding of time. The past is something that actually physically happened. You can't change the past. Well, apparently you can. Apparently the past can be changed. Excuse me. And our past has been changed. Our planet has moved 73,000 light years. I won't go into it, but it's a fact. In the last 10 years, our planet has moved 73,000 light years to the other side of the galaxy, have twice as close to the center of the universe as it was before. A bunch of other things. Things that just can't have happened. Things that we all knew, we all saw, we all experienced, and we find out that no, that actual reality changed. And it wasn't because of the elites didn't do it. They're not that powerful. The elites didn't go back and rewrite every single, re-edit every single movie that's ever been made. They didn't do that. The elites didn't have the power to, get a giant, interstellar tugboat and pull the planet 73,000 light years. They didn't have the ability to do that. No, it changed. The Earth moved on its own. The Earth moved 73,000 light years and took all of the surrounding stars with it. So how can that happen? Because the past is an origin story. It's an origin story that can change. It can change based on the experience of the present. So in terms of the Earth herself, this is what really made me realize, because this blew my mind was broken. The Mandela Effect broke my mind because I couldn't figure out how it happened. Like most people, I thought that two timelines had crashed into each other. And in some people's timeline, Mandela died in prison. And in other people's timeline, he didn't. And so that's why some people remembered it one way. Kennedy's car. Again, if you look at the Life, go look it up. The Life magazine photo that was taken right after Kennedy was assassinated. It's right there. You can see, it's there. I almost bought the copy to hold on to it because it just blew my mind. But you can see in that official photograph, there's only 4 seats. There's 2 bucket seats, 4 seats. That's it. Yet the Zapruder film, which is authenticated also, has 6 seats. A bunch of other stuff. You guys know what I'm talking about. That is happening because the future, those of us, our future selves and beings in higher dimensions, their reality is changing, which means that their origin story is changing along with it. The interesting thing about the Mandela Effect, except for some that I can't put my finger on, but the majority of the Mandela Effects all have positive messages, all of them. And the messages are saying there's hope. Hope is on the way. And the messages are also, we are going to take away all of the fear and all of the devaluation. I could get into specifics, but I'm not going to. The message is very clear. A better day is coming. And the other message is also very clear. Let go of your idea of reality, because reality is not fixed. Reality is changeable. Reality is magical. And instead of, like most people that I hear talk about the Mandela Effect, who believe that something horrible happened which created a different timeline and these 2 timelines are crashing into each other, instead of that, what is happening is that it's one timeline and the past is rewriting itself based on the consciousness of the people in the present and the future. This is good news. It means the future is becoming brighter. We are going into a better future, a more conscious future. And because of that, the past is changing the origin story. Another really great example is, again, I've mentioned it over and over again, but it bears repeating, which is the Burns and Allen comedy show. At the end of every performance, George Burns would say goodnight, Gracie, and Gracie would say, good night, Gracie, because she was an idiot. And that was cute, and it was funny, and so it was a cute little joke, and it was endearing, except for the fact that it was devaluing her as a woman, devaluing her for her supposed intelligence. But it was, it was a harmless, white joke, like white lie. I don't mean like white people. It was a harmless joke. But the message from the future is very clear. It says there's going to be no more devaluation of people based on anything superficial. And so when he says, say goodnight, Gracie, she says, good night. And you don't see her as a cute, stupid female idiot. You see her as a respectable woman. And that's the message, which means that our reality is changing within ourselves. Whatever's happening in the future is rippling back to us. We are changing. We are becoming more connected to ourselves. We are becoming more individuated. I've seen this in my life. It's a very interesting thing. Whenever I go through a huge personal upgrade, for some reason, the people around me also go through an upgrade. Whether they're my friends or my students, everybody in my life gets an upgrade. When you evolve, everybody and everything around you evolves, which means that we are evolving. And we know that because our past is rewriting itself. And it's rewriting itself, I could give more examples, but you can do your own research. So, take that lesson. The lesson is to feel all of your feelings. I'm not telling you to deny your feelings. I'm not telling you to deny your fears. I'm telling you to acknowledge them and to feel them, and then become a private investigator and investigate why you feel that way. Where did that feeling come from? And it'll come from, at some point in your origin story, maybe you were 3 years old. Part of my origin story is when I was born. I was born at least 6 weeks early, might have been as much as 2 months early. I was a total preemie, and back then they had this really great idea that they would take premature kids and stick them in a fish tank. So I didn't get any physical touching by anybody when I was an infant. Now, I don't remember consciously any of that, but my body remembers it. And so that became part of my origin story, so much so that I had difficulty sleeping in the same bed with somebody, no matter how much I loved them. I couldn't do it. I couldn't, their energy was so intense, and I needed to be cloistered in my own little space. I learned to get over that with people that I loved, and I learned to actually enjoy sharing my energy with them, as I slept. But that was part of my origin story. So that has changed. So if you can change your origin story, you'll be able to live more deeply in the present, in your soul, and then there won't be a past, and then there won't be any debt that you'll have to pay off. But instead of you paying a debt, the universe will pay you just for existing. And it is amazing. That has been the biggest lesson of my light being friends. Ever since that experience, Now, I don't know what it's like for anybody else. I'm not trying to compare myself to anybody else, nor am I saying that anybody needs to have my experience. I'm just saying this is what's happened with me. But ever since that huge experience, the third time I did CE5, and that being cracked me open and completely, totally shifted my reality. And I've been going through an initiation. Apparently, I'm still not over it because my ear is still, I still can't hear out of my right ear. I mean, I can, but not nearly as much. And I can tell when they're trying to talk to me because my ear will start buzzing. I mean, they're trying to tell me something, but for whatever reason, I'm not able to hear it. But I have been in constant psychic and energetic contact with them ever since then. And when they communicate to me in ways that are always, without question, always validating. Those people who talk about, if they talk about they have, connection to spirits or they have connection to aliens, if any of them say anything negative, if they have any paranoia associated with it, it's not coming from higher beings. More than likely coming from their own unconscious. Maybe coming from negative beings, but it's not coming from higher beings. These beings, have blown me away with how relentlessly loving and valuing they are. And every opportunity they have to let me know how valuable I am, just because I exist, they take it. Every single opportunity. And it's because I went out of my way to create a connection with them. And they honored that. And so the point of all of that is that I can tell you from personal experience, which I wasn't talking from a year ago. A year ago when I said the universe loves you, I was talking from a belief that I had that was playing out in my reality. I acted as though the universe loved me unconditionally. For the same things that I say now. I had that same understanding, but I didn't have any way to know that was true other than in my heart I knew that that's the only universe worth living in. So I was going to live as though that were the case. And it turned out to be true. When I took action based on that assumption, the universe always met my needs every single time. But it wasn't like I was filled with this feeling of coming from the universe or how much it loved me. It was just an assumption, and then I'd look around at my life and I'd see, yep, I have everything that I need right now, and it's because I'm doing what makes my soul happy, and so therefore the universe must love me. But my experience is completely different now. I have a connection to, I hesitate to say what, but I have a connection to a greater. I have an energetic and emotional and psychic connection to things that exist beyond me, and these forces. There was one night I was here and literally the moon called me outside. I was sitting in my house and it wasn't like I heard it, I felt it. And I felt the moon saying, come outside, I need to talk to you. And I went outside and the moon and I had this communication, not in words, but the moon was just filling me with this powerful love. And there was another time the sun did it, there's the ocean, the flowers, dragonflies, all that stuff. I now have a personal experience of that. And so I can tell you from personal experience, I'm not saying this just to brag, I'm saying this because I can tell you from personal experience that you are so unbelievably loved and you are not alone. There is never one moment in your reality where you are alone. Not one. There is not one moment in your reality where there isn't powerful beings who know all of your thoughts and your feelings and are there with you. I showed it on the film, on the video that I uploaded. I'll show it to you now. You know, I was sitting here in the worst part of the... I was sitting here at home, no power, stuck at home in the worst part of the... Oops, that's not what I want. Of the hurricane, and things did not look good. Let's see, where is it? Where is it? What is this? Where did I get all this stuff? How does all this stuff end up on my iPhone? Oh, anyway. I was going to show you what you already know, but my ET friends took over my radio. I was going to turn on the radio to see what was going on. You know, was the eye of the storm going to hit where I was? Because it was on the way. And things were already really bad. They were about as, I mean, the house was already starting to, you know, things were starting to come apart in the house. And I knew that if it picked up, bad things were going to happen. And so I went to go turn on my ham radio to get onto the FM radio station to see if there was any updates. And my ET friends took over the radio and just for 5 minutes just took over the radio to let me know that they were there with me and that I was going to be okay. And of course, on a psychic level, they were continuously communicating with me as well. But you need to know that you're never alone, ever. Now, I can't give you that experience. You're going to have to do the work to find that out. So that's what all of these things are for. Anyway, I've done enough talking. I'm happy to take questions. You know how it works. I want to hear your questions. If you have a question, write the word question in all caps. And if you have a feeling, same thing. Share your honest feelings. Anything else? Because there's literally nothing you can do to gain my more love or approval from me, I'm going to tell you the truth, even if you don't want to hear it. The safest way to avoid me telling you the bitter truth is to just ask a question or share a feeling. All right, let's take a look and see what we got here. Vincent.thunderwizard.com says, hello, you can see all of the services that he provides. He's one of my Vedic astrologers, and that is his website, vincent.thunderwizard.com. Thundra is also one of my Vedic astrologers, Thundra. Did I say that right? Thundra.thunderwizard.com. Go check her out. And then let's see what else. Zeralath, honest feeling. I who chose to be employed, I keep a professional amount notice of my deeds with my boss and colleagues. It has brought me stable. Anyway, I don't understand what you're saying. I get that there's a feeling there, but I don't understand it. In any case, thank you for sharing it. I'm sorry I couldn't grasp what you were trying to say. Okay, so Sekar Maltum, you're obviously new to the channel, because if you weren't new to the channel, you would know the last thing you want to do is to dump an opinion on the chat, especially when you haven't watched my channel, don't know what I teach, and you're gonna give me what for and tell me. See, now I get to help you. But I'm telling you now, you're not gonna like it. But if you're willing to put your origin story aside and listen, it might be helpful for you. More than likely it won't. My guess is you will stay in your resistance and in your ego, but my followers will be able to see themselves in you, and they will learn and they will grow. And again, for those who don't know, object lesson, last thing you want to do is dump your opinion on here. Anytime people come on the channel, 98% of the time, if they're throwing out an opinion, it is an ego exercise. It's them wanting attention, wanting approval, or something along those lines. And of course, as you know, what I've just said is when you want attention, when you want approval, when you want to be valued for anything other than your existence, you're operating from selfishness. You are stealing from your own soul and from the universe. So, here comes your karmic payback. Sekar Multum says, sorry, but this throws me off. Oh, just stay on the path and the universe will give you what you need. Oh, really? I tried Buddhism and I tried a dark cult, neither of which kept those promises. Well, so Sakar Maltam, I don't know what you mean by just staying on the path. And I don't know that I ever said that. So you have my challenge. You can go back into the archived part of this, because this will be archived. And you can, if you can find where I used that exact phrase, just stay on the path, I will acknowledge it. That isn't what I said. What I said was, when you operate from the knowledge that there is literally nothing in this universe that you can do, including staying on the path, because that's what you said. Staying on the path, what does that mean? Somebody's path. The Buddhist path. I didn't say stay. I didn't say anything about Buddhism. Dark cult. Okay, so you did two different religions. And so you tried to stay on their path, obviously because you thought if you did that, you would gain some kind of approval from somebody or something. And that's the exact opposite. You weren't listening to what I said. Whenever you think that your value or worth comes from anything other than you just existing, then what you will experience is negative karma. You will experience misery. So you have just agreed with me. So there you go. I'm sorry that you've been victimized. You also say, talking about both of these religions, that they didn't keep their promises. So you weren't following those paths simply because they had value for you. You wanted them to give you something. You were doing something in exchange for getting whatever those promises were. Which again, I'm saying if you do not operate from your soul and live from your soul, then it means that you expect something from somebody else. Not only that, but your assumption is that you don't have enough within yourself. If you think that there's something outside of you that will ever give you what you need, then you can't help but try and selfishly manipulate them to give you something in exchange for you doing something for them. Which is what you're saying. You said, I did these two religions and they didn't keep their promises. I'm a victim. Don't tell me I'm not a victim. I'm not telling you you're a victim. I'm telling you that you have the power to create your life. And I'm sorry, I understand, and I'm sorry that that bothers you. But it only bothers you, number one, because you have a wrong understanding about yourself, which is, if you had followed Buddhism, you would know, because Buddhism, part of it is correct understanding. So you didn't have a correct understanding of yourself. You thought you needed something outside of you. And you found out the truth. The universe was just with you and said, no. Doing anything in the hopes of getting something for what you do is going to bring you misery. So we're not buying into that. So Sekar, welcome to the channel. I hope you find what you're looking for. I invite you to spend more time on the channel. And the most important thing you can do on this channel is do the practices. Not because you're going to get any value from me or from anything else, but because you will be able to gain energy which will connect you to your soul, give you power to take actions based on your soul. So we do have to do things in this life. But what we have to do is to take actions that are based on what our soul tells us, not any path. There's no path out there. And if there is a path out there that tells you what to do, if they're a true path, they're just giving you a particular methodology to make yourself happy. And any religion that doesn't do that is a cult. Because what is a cult? You give up something, your money, Jesus, you give up, you invite him into your heart. You choose to believe in him. And then because you've kissed his ass, oh, I believe in you, Jesus, because you've kissed his ass, then you're saved. It's extremely codependent. Anyway, there's that. All right, so Sekar Multum is now giving people advice, which again, this is my classroom. I didn't ask for your opinion, so we're going to delete that. If Sekar if you do anything which if I find you to be devaluing to what I'm doing, I will block you. But so far, you're just new and you don't know any better. But we're going to remove that. Okay, what else? Okay, that's it. No more questions. Les Gerber just threw a question out there. Question, you talked about the past rewriting itself. Yes, I did. Could this be anything like the Well of Wyrd? Well, yeah. The deeper the well goes, the less the past affects our present. I mean, I'm not sure I know what you're talking about. I understand the reference. The Well of Wyrd, as I understand it, is the unconscious, which is why Odin has one of his eyes in there. I like to believe it's his left eye. But the Well of Wyrd is not origins. It's something else. The Well of Wyrd is what is affected by the origin story. So the origin story actually affects the well, not the other way around. So the deeper the well goes, the less the past. No, it's the opposite. Because if we're talking about the unconscious, the deeper that your unconscious goes, the more you're going to find that which defines you. So anyway, I have again, this is kind of it's not really a question. A question is, you're absolutely clueless and you want my take on it. What does such and such mean? When you actually have an opinion there, which is that the deeper the well goes, the less the past affects, and you wanted me to co-sign that. So that's okay. I don't agree with you, but that's okay. I don't have to, and that doesn't mean that I'm right. I don't see any other questions here. So we're going to do some business, and you have time to ask questions in the meantime. So as I said, the point of this channel is not listening to me talk. By the way, if all you do is come here and listen to me talk, you're going to be wrong the majority of the time because you don't have the personal experience to back it up. Not that you don't have experience in your own life. You don't have experience in the practice that I do, which will have a huge effect on your understanding, and it'll have a huge effect on understanding me when I talk. You'll have a better intuitive connection. This is a spiritual path here, the path of the Thunder Wizard, which means that, just to give you an understanding, spiritual paths have initiations. And so Shaktipat, things like that. So in a real spiritual path, I don't like the way that sounds, but in a real spiritual path, when the guru puts his hand on your on your head, and he's a blah, 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 whatever that is. What's really happening is that energetically that teacher is now putting you under the connection and protection of his spiritual teachers, his spirit guides. And so what happens from then on that you've been initiated in is now those spirit guides start to influence you, mostly in ways that you're totally unaware of, but sometimes in dreams, sometimes in this case, when you do any of the exercises at thunderwizard.com, the lightning qigong, when you do any of the free practices and you do it with an intention to gain from that, just by doing that, you are accessing my higher guides. And you will feel some energies. You'll find yourself, if you, for instance, let's say if you do the Awakening the Immortals Qigong, which you can find on the playlist for the Maoshan on the free channel. When you do that, and you do that with an intention, I really want to empower myself. I really want to improve. Whatever your intention is along those lines, you may find yourself, as you're doing the practice, you might find your body shifting a little bit. You might feel a surge of energy. You might find yourself thinking something, or something might come into your mind. And there's a very good chance that there will be a light being, perhaps literally in the room with you, guiding your energy and empowering you. So the HUUL breath is the basic practice here on this channel. Let me just write it for you. You can go Google this anywhere and you will find the videos. I don't know what else you'll find, but you'll definitely find my videos. And if you do the HUUL breath, that is the initiation into this path. You don't need to do anything for me other than that. This path I've made available to you. You don't owe me anything. I never have to talk to you. You can take it and go and run with it. But if you need an initiation with higher level beings to empower you, do the HUUL breath. Do the Awakening the Immortals. You are now my lineage partner. We're now students of the same higher beings. You'll still have your own higher self and higher beings working with you, but that's what a real lineage is. Real lineage is something that connects you to something, to a string of teachers in higher dimensions that will empower you. You'll never be alone again. And to the extent that you want those beings to interact with you and to help you, you can reach out to them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and ask for help. If you've done the HUUL breath, if you've done the Hwar breath, if you've done, Thor's hammer, if you've done the Awakening the Immortals, and you're sad, you're in pain, you're lonely, you're frightened, you're confused, whatever, you can reach out to them. And you can say to whatever higher masters out there, I need help. Please give me guidance. You can face the northwest, which is the direction of the ascended masters, the elves, the light beings, and I guarantee you they will be there for you. At whatever level you need and whatever level you are willing, they will be there for you. You will never have to feel alone again. We are now in a new phase. As I said, we're entering into some new reality. I don't know when or how that's going to happen, but I know we're in the process of it. Our planet, as I said, has shifted. It's twice as close to the center of the galaxy than it was 10 years ago. And the magnetic field on the planet is dwindling, which means you have more of a connection to higher dimensional forces. This is something that's been made very clear to me. And this is part of the shifting of the planet. Because this is what happens when, the solar wave, when it comes, if it hasn't already started doing so, what ends up happening, like any kind of solar radiation of any kind, When it hits the Earth, if it actually breaks through, it has to go through the magnetic field. So our magnetic field has reduced significantly, which means that the Earth is now much more available to higher dimensional forces, and it's much more available when the sun sends this very high vibrational wave, this pulse of higher consciousness. There's no more huge, really thick magnetic field to stop it. It's going to get to us. So point being is that if you reach out to the higher beings now, all you have to do is just face northwest and ask for the beings to come into your life, to guide you, to help you. They will. If you don't, they won't. And they'll only interact with you to the extent that you are comfortable and are capable. They won't go beyond that. What else? Cademan Vriher. Question. Based on your experience, does deeply wanting a soulmate as part of your soul desire come from your origin story, a place of lack and karma, or can it be a valid desire? Yes, it can be. It can be both at the same time. I mean, the thing about karma and karmic debts is, so here's the thing about karma. Negative karma, karmic relationships, karmic debts. Is that, let's say you, like, for instance, I mentioned my last serious relationship, which was extremely codependent. I got involved with a woman who had severe untreated borderline personality disorder. Very severe mental illness. They are, untreated, are extremely abusive in really horrendous ways, and they're totally clueless. They're mentally ill. They're in a lot of pain. They're not trying to harm anybody. They can't help it. But that was a karmic debt I had. It was a karmic debt I had because I had origin story issues with my mother. My mother, as it turns out, I look back, I realized my mother was almost certainly had borderline personality disorder also. And I suffered greatly from that. I still had programming. So part of my origin story, as I said, was if mommy loves me, I have value. Which is, a real mom gives you the opposite feeling. A real mom gives you the feeling, I have value, mom loves me. I already know that. Not, I hope she loves me. If I can get this woman to love me, then I'll have value. So that was a karmic debt that I needed to pay off, and it meant that if I met that karmic relationship with awareness, which I did, because I immediately, as soon as it became apparent to me, which it became apparent to me within a few months, actually about halfway through, it became apparent to me that I was with somebody that had a very serious mental illness. And then not too long after that, I became aware that I was codependently enmeshed. That awareness in and of itself didn't give me the power to get out of it. It took me another, few weeks to take the action, which was I went to Codependence Anonymous and I worked those steps. I had already worked the 12 steps in another 12-step group. So I knew what to do. So I faced it with consciousness and I knew what I needed to do. And as a result of that, I had a much deeper healing. I went and healed on a much deeper level the enmeshment I had with my mother, which I found out later was a result of another past life enmeshment that I had created with my mom, who in a past life was my daughter. And I wasn't there for her when she was a little girl. And she was very damaged by that. And that played itself out in, this life. I had a extremely codependent, overprotective, dominating, abusive mother. And now, with the help of my my light being friends, I now have worked that out. I've communicated with my mom many times. And I communicated with her as her previous self, and I'm communicating with her now. She's a completely different being to me. And we have a great relationship, and she's one of my spirit helpers, spirit guides. She's, I don't know how to make that sound the way it really is. She's one of my friends. She's a good friend. She happens to be, in a higher dimension, but and that was impossible. Just a month ago, I was saying, I never want to see her again. She's the worst person that's ever walked the planet. Now I would be very happy. And I do. I interact with her all the time. She comes and visits me and helps me with all kinds of stuff. She doesn't walk around the house or anything like that. These usually happen when I'm in meditation or in dreams and those kinds of things, just to get the weirdness out of it. So it's not an either or. And Cademan, my question, are you doing any of the practices on this channel? Everybody listening to me should be doing at least a half an hour of practice a day. I don't care if you're doing the lightning qigong. I hope you are. That's the most powerful practice in the world, in my opinion. But the awakening the immortals, the HUUL breath, the Huar breath, you should be doing a practice, and I've made a bunch of practices available. So that's my question to you, Cademan. Are you doing any of my practices on a daily basis? Because if so, this will help. Anyway, to answer your question, yes, it can be part of your soul desire to have a soulmate, of course. But your soulmate will have a karmic connection with you. Not what is the trend now? The twin flame. Twin flames are just nothing but codependent, abusive people. So forget about twin flames. A true soulmate is somebody that has a karmic connection to you, that you have a contract with, that in this life you're going to get psychologically enmeshed, and you're going to work through your issues together. And if you can do it consciously, you'll both grow. If you don't do it consciously, you'll both relive old patterns and you'll get stuck and you'll be miserable. And this is why we come into three-dimensional reality. So, yes to both of your questions. Okay, so Sekar Maltam has shown to be a fairly individuated person and can deal with my shouting out to them. But yeah, so that's how it works here. If you have an honest question, ask a question. A question is something you don't know. To the extent that you're not, following the channel and doing the exercises, to that extent, I'm probably going to clash with you in ways that might not be the most pleasant. To the extent that you do the practices, you'll have less and less questions. And the questions you do have will be questions I'll be really excited about. In any case, so Sekar, I'm glad. And so I've put out the challenge to you, and I've put it out to everybody watching. If you honestly believe, as you said in your previous, since you're willing to continue in this dialogue with me, the universe will give you what you need if you just stay on the path, and my promises. So that's a victim mentality. Just right, that. You are saying that you're a victim to external circumstances, and that the universe does things to you and puts you and I understand that. I had a very challenging life. So I know what that feels like. And I'm here to tell you that I've now learned a different way to live, and it's simply from following my soul desire. And if you don't know what your soul desire is, go and watch my channel about that. And for everybody watching, I have a book which I recommend called The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. You can go on to Amazon and Google that. You can go on to Michael William Denny and Google that, courses.thunderwizard.com. You can also, if you're completely incapable of spending the $10 or $20 or whatever it is, you can listen to me read it for free on the channel. There's no excuse for you not to know what's in that book. It's really a booklet. And if you can read that booklet and if you can practice what's on there, if you can master it, which is a simple thing but not necessarily an easy thing, then you will never have to deal with misery again, ever. Never. You'll have life challenges, but you'll never have to be miserable again. And you'll never have to feel like the universe is doing it to you, ever. There's no need for it. You're not designed for it. You're designed to actually experience this three-dimensional reality as a fun, challenging video game. And once you learn the rules of the video game, you enjoy going up a level every time you do it. You hit those challenges, but it's always worth it. Always. All right. No other questions have come up. I'm starting to get tired, so I guess we're done. That's it for me. I survived the most powerful storm that's ever hit, the most powerful hurricane that's ever hit Florida. I narrowly escaped serious damage. If the storm had not taken a sharp turn to the east, I would have been directly in the eye of the storm. And just south of here, 25 minutes, there are stores that have their windows were completely just demolished. There were, people have, beach houses here, and then they build these wooden walkways onto the beach, and a couple of them were just completely washed away. All of the sand is gone, and there's big giant rocks everywhere. Yeah, Mother Nature is very intense. I survived that. I'm really grateful. And I don't think I'm ever going to, the thing about Florida is it's not a question of when. No, excuse me. It's not a question of if there's going to be a hurricane. It's a question of when. So now that I know that, I don't think I'm ever going to let myself be in Florida during hurricane season. It's just not worth it. Because by the time you realize that, oh crap, that storm's actually going to hit, it's too late. You're stuck. You're not going anywhere. Anyways, that's what happened with me. All right, enough of my kvetching. That's it, my friends. I'm glad that you're here. I wish you all the best. I love you with all of my heart. I want nothing for you except that you find your greatest individuation, which is when you can tap into your true essence, you will be tapped into everything. I hope that you can all find the connection to the universe around you and know that you are loved. If you even could feel 1/10 of the love that all of the higher beings in the universe have for you, which are, by the way, completely surrounding you. Our planet is completely surrounded by these beings. We are surrounded by them all the time. And you have beings connected to you on a psychic level. They know where you are all the time. They're connected to you all the time. And if you could feel 1/10 of the amount of love that they have for you, it would literally knock you to your knees if you felt it. Because they have love on a dimension like 5th or above. And once you get into the 5th dimension, the amount of love is overwhelming to the 3-dimensional mind. It's just absolutely overwhelming. And I hope you all find that in your own way, whatever way that is. And if I've done or said anything to anybody that was hurtful or offensive, just know that it's coming from hopefully, sometimes it comes from my humanity, but hopefully it's come from my individuated part of me that says there's literally nothing you can do that can make me love you more. There's nothing you can do that will give you more worth or value to me, which means even if you give me a compliment, I'm still going to tell you the truth because I care about you. Somebody just showed up and doesn't know how this works. Anything to vibrational levels of sounds, yes, welcome to the channel. All you got to do is see this right here, the HUUL. Go ahead and watch that. There's one. But spend some time on the channel and you don't have to ask these kinds of questions. You can go and practice them without having to ask. So this channel is here for you to use. I'm done. I got to get off. I wish you guys all the best. I love you all. I will see you all next time. Take care. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's just use this one. See you next time.